Hello and welcome to another video. This is Voorhees Retro 81, and this is going to be a vlog video that it isn't a video response, but I thought it would be a fun way to give Gull Payne a hand into the library of one of my favourite systems of all time, and that is the humble Sega Master System. And rather than leave the poor lad an excessive and exhaustive comments list of random games, I thought I'd put together a top 10 of the Sega Master System, like my 10 favourite games on the Sega Master System. And I thought that'd be a fun thing, it would just be give me an opportunity to talk about the Master System before I realised that I was going to struggle to put together video of like live actual hardware the way that I'd hoped to do at the start of this channel. I was planning to do quite a lot of Master System vids, but it's just not happened because of the whole, the whole technology situation here. Wow, that's a lot of trolls. And not the kind you regularly deal with on YouTube. Man, there was trolls out the backside over here. No matter. Right, so I've drawn up a top 10 of games for the Master System. Like I say, the Master System is, I would say probably the Master System is my joint second favourite system of all time, alongside the PlayStation 2. Now, I discovered the Master System actually quite late. I've only had a Master System about 15 years. And I kind of discovered it by pseudo accident. So I've had a Mega Drive. I've had a Mega Drive since just after I got a PlayStation 1, because I'd always wanted a Mega Drive, but situations being what they were, I just didn't. We had the PCs. Well, we had the C64, then we had the PCs, and then I bought my own PlayStation. But then when I moved out, I picked up a Mega Drive. But it wasn't until about sort of 10 years later, so probably around like sort of 2005, 2006 kind of time, I realised that you could get a Mega Drive to Master System converter. And that was like, that kind of blew my mind, because it meant that I could take my Mega Drive library and also like buy Master System games to play on the Mega Drive as well. And so I won't go into which games I will just say off the bat, I bought 3 games that you can't get on the Mega Drive PAL. 2 of them you can get on the Mega Drive if you've got like one that's chipped to run NSTC games. But so I got Chase HQ, R-Type, and New Zealand Story. Now, R-Type and New Zealand Story were games that I had history with. Chase HQ was a game that I'd seen everybody else play, and I was like, wow, that looks really cool. I would really like to play that, but it's not on any of my systems. And then like I found out about the Master System converter, and then I found out that Chase HQ was on the Master System, and I found out that R-Type was on the Master System as well, which was also, I was in a situation where like I really loved that game. I really loved it in the arcade. I really loved it on the Super Nintendo, etc. But none of the systems that I had like the 2D, the original R-Type on them, other than you can get it on the Commodore 64, but I haven't had a Commodore 64 with me for ages. Like, we're talking about sort of a good sort of 25, 30 years since I've had an active Commodore 64 with me. Anyhow, so number 10 on my Sega Master System top 10, sort of 10 favourite games, is Alien 3. Alien 3 is a really good game, I think, on most systems. I've played the Commodore 64 version, I played the Master System version, I prefer the Master System version for gameplay purposes. The Commodore version is quite it has very big sprites, and as a result it's quite difficult to actually react to the aliens in time to avoid getting damaged quite badly sometimes. So as such, although the sprites on the Master System version are a bit smaller, the gameplay is a fair bit tighter, I would say, and the graphics are better on the Master System. That's another thing I will say about the Master System. The Master System is very powerful in terms of what it can kick out graphics wise. Its sound kind of isn't as good. I would say its sound quality isn't like high in the sort of 8-bit pantheon. The music in good hands, that like sound and music on the Master System can be fantastic, but on average I would much rather listen to a C64 than a Master System. But the Master System looks fantastic, moves a lot faster, is easier to control. It's just, as much as I love the C64 and it's my favourite system of all time, I think the Master System is a better 8-bit system, and has better quality versions of games frequently, but they don't have anywhere near as good music, and the music on the C64 is one big reason why I'm very nostalgic about it and I love it so much, is because that SID chip is amazing. But there aren't many 8-bit systems at all that can really hold a candle to the SID chip, so I'm not holding that against the Master System at all. Anyhow, yeah, so Alien 3, really good sort of run and gun / platform puzzler. You've got to get hostages out of these big maze-like sort of space station setups while avoiding aliens, and it's quite a hard game. It's got quite strict time limits, and you have to do quite a lot of memorizing, which is maybe why it's not quite as far up as it possibly could be. Moving quickly on to number 9. Number 9 is Transbot. Now, Transbot is a very early Master System horizontal shooter, and it's interesting for a variety of reasons. I do find it quite interesting because although it's only really got 2 levels, the way it kind of loops and progresses those levels makes it actually quite compelling and replayable, I've found. And it does take a while to kind of get your head around like how to play it, with the way you kind of walk between 2 levels until you've eventually sort of beaten both of them, and then the game will kind of wrap round on itself and get harder. So it's kind of got like that classic arcade, like really like early arcade kind of gameplay, as in like your Donkey Kongs or your scrambles or your time pilots, that kind of thing, where you've got quite a short game but one that is very replayable. So yeah, I really enjoyed Transbot, and well worth checking out. Number 8 is Chase HQ. Now, the interesting thing is, I think if you'd asked me this about 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, this would have been much higher. But I've replayed it recently, and it just didn't quite grab me as much, and I found it a lot harder to sort of keep in control of than I remember. So maybe like I felt a bit like I'd maybe remembered it with rose-tinted spectacles, but it is a really good like driving combat kind of game, and I think Chase HQ is, from what I can gather, a great game on most systems. It's a lot of fun. It's great fun sort of ramming into things. It knocks the spots off Battle Outrun, which is kind of Sega's attempt to clone Chase HQ, and for my money doesn't really work. There's too many AI cars and they're too aggressive, and it just kind of I mean, I know a lot of people really like Battle Outrun, and if you do really like Battle Outrun, fair play to you. But for me, I just found Battle Outrun a bit of a ball ache to play, where Chase HQ felt more fair, it felt less stacked against you, and it still does to this day, but I just seem to have kind of lost the knack of it a bit. So I'm not, maybe the last time I played it, I didn't maybe enjoy it as much as I expected to, given previous runs. And I couldn't complete it, which I used to be able to complete it pretty straightforwardly, so maybe I just need more practice. But anyway, it's still in the top 10. Now, number 7 is the almighty Afterburner. Now, the Sega Master System version of Afterburner is the only version of Afterburner I have completed. And I'm sure that will probably continue to be the case, because Afterburner is hell of a difficult. But it's the Master System version is just like, it's a really, really good 8-bit port, really faithful. I mean, you would expect that from a Sega game on a Sega system, but that doesn't necessarily scan. I mean, it's really, really faithful, and the 3D, the sort of faux 3D in it is really impressive, and it runs almost as fast as the Mega Drive version. And yeah, game I really enjoy. I mean, Afterburner is one of my favourite games, full stop. I love Afterburner, I love all the ports of Afterburner. I just think it's a really cool idea. So that's my number 7. And number 6 is the equally almighty R-Type. And this is, the Master System version is actually my favourite port of R-Type. And that includes the most recent ones on R-Type Dimensions. And I think it compares really... It's one of those things. Now, a friend of mine, Lord Farius, has mentioned this. With the Master System, frequently the games don't maybe look or sound as good, but often there's actually improved gameplay with the Master System versions of games. They just sort of feel better, or the tech lends itself better to the gameplay. And I feel like R-Type is a real case of that being the point. So I have R-Type on the PC Engine as well, and obviously I also have it on Dimensions on the PC, and I just find those are really difficult. And R-Type Dimensions, because it has bizarre kind of collision detection from being both 3D and 2D at the same time, so that you can switch between them, that kind of throws the collision detection off for me. And the PC Engine version has mad crazy flicker, even though its look, because of the PC Engine, now correct me if I'm wrong, the PC Engine has like a 16-bit graphics chip, so like R-Type looks the business on PC Engine, but you can't quite tell what you're fighting a lot of the time on the PC Engine. So although the Master System version is quite considerably slower than the arcade original, it's kind of that actually works in its favour to give you more space to maneuver and make things, make it kind of like, it's not easier, but it's definitely something where you feel like it's more straightforward to learn, and you're not frequently getting smacked in the face with something you didn't even realise was there because it was having a flickathon at you. So that's the first part of my top 10, and I hope to be back with a second part very soon. It will be weather dependent, because it is ferociously hot right now for no good reason, and it's been absolute swine at work, but needs must. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope that's helped anybody who's looking for Sega Master System recommends, but Gull especially, as I know he is looking to just find some interesting things to check out. Alright, peace out people. Many thanks.